I'm going to do a reading today, or an insight video today. I feel like the last couple of days I've been having a lot of stuff around the Ascended Masters, and I'm connecting more and more into there. I had like a vision the other day of an Ascended Master with like a turban. He had this pink diamond in his sort of like in his third eye, dressed completely in white. And first of all, I thought this was Serapis Bay, which the energy is connected to that. But I also think the more I've been looking into it, it's Maha Chohan, which is this being, or this light being that works with the planet. And from what I can sense and what I've sort of like connecting, it's to do with like the Holy Spirit in one aspect they talk about, which is to do with like the light energy, the source energy. But it's also to do with um, awakening to that light, awakening to that energy. But it's also this being brings Maha Chohan is to do with like they call it like the Rainbow Bridge, and this makes sense to me because it starts talking about like the integration of like the spirit world and like the physical world and how they come together, and this very much connects to this energy, and it's about sort of like bridging as you start to move and ascend and move past like the physical reality, as you start to shift through this 3D blueprint, this 3D reality, and you start to connect into these higher vibrations, which is these light bodies. We're all light beings, and we're all being connected, and we're all being moved and sort of activated into this new state of being. And this is what this whole process is about, and this is what the Ascended Masters are bringing at the moment. So also like the Serapis Bay is very much around sort of bringing like purity of light, purity of energy, and it helps you, this energy helps you to move out of these lower vibrations and start to move into these higher vibrations, which is what all this whole time is about. It's about ascension, healing, vibrations. As we start to lift our vibrations, then we start to open up and we start to connect to this source energy, and we start to move into a new state of being. And this is what this whole time's about, and this is what the Ascended Masters are bringing. And the interesting thing is, the more I get into this and the more I sort of like go deeper into the ascension process and the process of working with Ascended Masters, they work in perfect unity. So again, this is that lesson of the law of oneness, the law of the universe, that nothing's separate and everything works in perfect unity and harmony. Again, it's a lesson that and an insight and the wisdom that nothing's separate. So in the sense they talk about the seven Chohans, which are these seven sort of vibrations or frequencies of light that are sort of each master works with, and they're called masters not because they're greater or that they're in that sense sort of like they see some themselves different. They're just masters because they've mastered the physical form, so they've moved into a spiritual reality and spiritual realm. So in that sense, that's why they're called masters, because they've mastered the physical body and they've now moved into the spiritual realms of energy and light, and they're coming back to support us, or not even coming back because they're already here. This is the concept that I think we lose when we incarnate into a human form, is that we lose that concept that energy and light, it just changes form. And this is what transmutation is. It's not that something dies, it just transmutes, it just changes into a different form. This is what happens when we move on from this physical body into the light energies and the light realms. Everything is energy and light, and this is what the masters bring. The masters bring this vibration. So this Maha Chohan is sort of like it's eighth ray. They say the eighth ray, but again we're talking about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it's not even a hierarchy. It's just a perfect unified, a perfect system of union of perfect design. And this is what the source energy is. It's this perfect blueprint of all creation, and all creation works in perfect harmony, perfect union. And this is what this time's about. And this is why I feel like over the last like few years, this is what's been going on with me. So I'm activating and this light energy and this light bodies, and these masters are working with me. And as I start to connect more and more into them, they start to bring through this wisdom, and I'm being directed. So this Maha Chohan has it like what they call is like a rainbow bridge, and the rainbow bridge. So to me, like rainbow is like an infinite sort of like an infinite source and infinite opportunities, like new awareness, new insight, new all that kind of stuff. and like the Rainbow Bridge is like symbolic of. So when you talk about spiritual reality, they talk about things like the 12 chakras, and the 12 chakras are like energy centers within your body. And as we've opened up to these, been activated into these new what they say like DNA light codes. You move up to this like 12 chakras, and like the 12 chakras like what you call the stellar gateway. And in Atlantis and in times like that, they talked about something called the stellar gateway, which is very much around the sort of like the gateway or the portal where we were living in union with the spiritual realities. And this is where I feel this energy sits. This energy sits there, and it connects in that way where it opens you up to the spiritual realities and the spiritual realms. And it's again about that integration and the opening to your source energy, so you become aligned with it. So this time's very much around that, and this is why we're being asked to shift and create this new blueprint, because this new blueprint is what was going to align the planet to these universal realities, these universal communities, which is where these ascended masters and these spiritual beings live. And this is well, they don't even live. They just they're in these realities. It's not even like living, because it's just perfect harmony. The energy and the light is connected, and this reality is connected to that reality, as all realities are connected together. Again, this is part of the infinite blueprint of the universal law of oneness. And so again, we knew this in past cultures. We knew this when we were sort of living in Lemurian times, and we live in Atlantis times, and a lot of people that are on this planet now have lived in that time. And that's why we're coming back. It's coming back to bring that ancient knowledge, that ancient and that wisdom that we were living with. And this is what these codes are being activated. These codes are now like being activated within ourselves again. This is very much around sort of like Serapis Bey was very much in Atlantis, as were all these masters. They lived in that Atlantean culture, and they lived in that Lemurian culture, and they've been here many times before, and they're coming back now to activate and open us up to these vibrations again of this source energy, because how we're living is not in harmony with the spiritual reality, the spiritual realms. What we're living in is not in disharmony, but we're sort of like disconnected. We're disconnected because we're still in that 3D reality. So this is what this time's about, and this is the like the insight of today. So I've been sort of like directed to this Maha Chohan over the last couple of days, because I thought it was Serapis Bey that first came through, but it actually was this Maha Chohan. The more I sort of look into it, the more I feel that. Again, it talks about like the Holy Spirit, which is this infinite source of energy and light, and it's about awakening us to that. And again, I keep talking about this sense of walking as spirit, not walking with spirit, because you are spirit. You're a spiritual being of light and energy. So it's not about. And many of us, I think, when we start on this spiritual journey, the first thing we try and do is we're schooled by many mediums, many psychics, or many spiritual circles, that we're told about trying to connect to spirit, but we're not really ever told that we are spirit. But you know, we're spirit incarnated, so we're trying to connect to something that we already are. And for me, that's quite a big sort of like shift in consciousness when you start to realise that you are this spiritual reality. You are like this light being walking in this physical form, in this physical reality. And it's about that. That's the shift in consciousness. And again, this is what Serapis Bey brings. When Serapis Bey sort of like leads us into this higher spheres of consciousness, we start to realise, and we move out those lower vibrations. We start to move into higher vibrations. And this is why this time is so important, about remaining centered, remaining sort of in your energy. So how can you do this? How can you do this as a physical being? Well, it's about, again, it's about connecting to that source energy, and there's many ways to do that. There's many ways through meditation. There's using crystals as tools of ways of sort of like connecting. In Atlantis, everything within the whole sort of reality, the energetic vibrational reality, was around crystals. Crystals were used in that way. And again, you see a lot of ascended masters, you see a lot of these ascended masters illustrations and psychic drawings. They have crystals, they have energy centers, they have energy sort of like tools with them, because they use these as a way of remaining in harmony with that source energy, that source light. And again, it's everything is light and energy. Everything is light and energy. It's about remaining in that light. If we shift out of that reality, but the shifting out of that reality is usually the 3D reality is, or the 3D reality is very much around like fear, worry, doubt, loss of control, all of those kind of things, those kind of lower vibrations and frequencies that we all experience regularly within our physical lives. And this is what this time's about. This time is shifting and opening us up to that. As I start to connect into it more and more, this makes more and more sense. I've been working with many sort of like different ascended masters. I've been getting stuff over the last probably couple of years. I don't always necessarily open up to them as much as I can, but I'm starting to realise that that vibration has been with me for a long time. This time's very much around healing, alchemy, creation. You've got Saint Germain, and the Ascended Masters again work in perfect union with the universal laws, and this is what it is. That like the Law of Oneness was a book that I read a little while ago, or quite a few years ago. I bought it in Totnes in Devon, where I was originally from, Devon. And this Law of Oneness talked about a person that was sort of like connected, or was going through a part of their life, and then they were awakened, and they went through these different sort of like journeys and stuff like that, and they were like awakened to this Law of Oneness. And Atlantis was this built around this kind of like oneness, this oneness vibration. And this is what we're trying to get back to now. We're trying to get back to this kind of time where we're connected into this vibration of source energy, and an awakening, and awareness that we start to walk in that light, and we express that light, and we start to really be that light. And this is what this time's about, and this is what the Ascended Masters are bringing. They're awakening us so we can start to reclaim, in that sense of like walking in our purpose of being light and energy. And this is how we do it. We all start to sort of like be activated, and these light bodies and these light energies start to activate. And then what they do is the lower frequencies that we've got now, our energy fields will harmonize and harmonize with these new frequencies, and it will shift our energy bodies, and it will shift these light frequencies within our bodies, so they will shift and change with colors. And these colors and these rays are symbolic of perfect union, but they're also symbolic of different shifts in consciousness, different shifts in energy. So this is what you see with the auras. When people look at auras, and they hold different sort of vibrations and frequencies and colors, the colors are connected to the state of consciousness of and the state of light that being is expressing. And this is what this time's about. And in Atlantis times, this is what they were doing. That they could see these energy frequencies, and this is how we used to heal. This is how we used to heal. This is how we used to remove blockages, psychological, mental, emotional, spiritual. They were all done by reading colours and reading auras. And this is how crystals were used as well. Crystal chambers, crystal vibrational. Crystal chambers used for healing, but crystals used for creating energy fields where how we lived, and we lived in harmony. But they also created our homes, they created our heat, they created everything. And we're not getting to that time now, because that sounds like, the way it's talking, it does sound a bit like woohoo, like we were going back to like something sort of like a space, like sort of like a reality. I don't mean it in that way, but what I mean is we still have that source energy, we have that light energy here now. It's about us awakening to it. And this is what this time's about, and this is why the masters are bringing these energies for us to awaken, to know that we have that wisdom, we have that insight, we have that light, that source energy in us. And when we awaken it, then we can start to become part of that infinite community, but also that great brotherhood of light again, which is where they live. They talk about the white brotherhood. This is what this is about. The white brotherhood is a collection of ascended beings and universal teachers that are bringing light and energy to the planet, to heal it, to lift its vibration, to lift its frequency. So once again, we can bask in that central sun of the universal source, which a lot of us have sort of haven't forgot, but we've become disconnected by the world and the reality that we've got here. But as conscious beings of creation, we also have the ability to shift and change reality, for individually, but for also collectively, for the world and for the planet. And this is what this time's about, and this is why we've been given this energy. That diamond energy that I see is very much around union. It's a union of heaven and earth, but really what is it? It's an awakening. It's the integration and the awakening to spirit. It's the awakening to that spiritual source energy, that light energy that we all have in us. And this is what this time's about, and this is why we're being directed into this time. And again, this gateway, when I talk about this Maha Chohan, which is like this eighth ray being, but it's eight, it's irrelevant. It's part of a perfect sort of system, but it's about, again, as you start to open, you express light in a different way. You become open to more frequencies, and again, as you become more and more open, as I feel, again, as I'm talking about this, I feel the Ascended Masters are imprinting that, you've got like 7 Chohans, which are these different vibrations of light and frequency, but they are talking about, as you open, then you become harmonized with, you can be harmonized with all of them. And again, everything is connected. Like, you've got like 7 chakras, and then you've got like the crown chakra, and then you've got like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But again, these light centers that are in your body, these energy centers, these chakras, can be aligned to these vibrations of these Chohans as well. And the more, so all of these can be activated together. The true sort of like way you can really walk in light and energy is when you can activate all of them. It's very difficult in a physical human form, but however, we do have these energy centers that we can actually align, and this is what this time's about, and this is what this Holy Spirit is about as well. It's about this sense of opening up and expressing, but also connecting and using connecting to your light energy, your light being in you. Each and every one of you is a light being. You're a source of light, you're a source of energy, and expressing that light, one sort of like lights up your own pathway, your own journey, and it allows you to express your purpose. But it also, by shining light and shining your energy, you connect and align with others, and then they connect and align with you, but they also open, and then it activates them, and then they start to align as well. So we're all here, part of the same whole, and we're all here to express and our light and our energy in that way. But we're each of us are a beacon for each other. Each of us brings light and love and energy into each of our lives, and each of us helps to support and open each other, and that we're all teachers, and we're all students in that way. We're all part of an infinite family of light and energy, and this is what the masters bring. This is what the masters are bringing. I mean, the energy is beautiful. The energy is really, really beautiful, and there's no limitation to it. There's no limitation to this frequency, this energy. So in that sense, it's about us awakening to it. So the way to do it as well, it's like I was saying about sort of always look, consciousness is like this shift in approach. This is a shift in thoughts. This is shifts in how we approach something, but it's a shift in how we use our energy. Remember, everything is energy and light. Physical thought, all of it is just a reflection of our energy, our light. So in that sense, it's about, again, what's the highest outcome? I always try and say, and I try and like go into the tool of saying, well, I've got an infinite self, some people call it higher self, but I like to call it infinite self. My infinite self, what would it do? How would it approach? How would it approach this situation? What is the highest outcome? What is the highest the highest vibration, the highest way I can apply my energy to this situation? And I try and do this. I mean, I get caught up in the daily stuff I do at work and stuff like that, listening to others and listening to things that are going on. There's things that happen, but and then sometimes I do sort of like come down to lower vibrations, but again, it's about raising them again. We have to remain open. We have to remain open to these frequencies. These frequencies will integrate when we start to remain open to this light and energy frequency. And each of our purposes are to open our own light, our light frequencies, open ourselves up to our infinite selves, to our source energy, and then start to express it in daily living. Well, that's the energy that's the reading for today. Thanks for listening. Please comment, subscribe, like, follow, check out my Facebook page. Have a blessed day.